Hello and welcome to Shop Talk with Dan the Man. Today's video we're going to discuss this. This is Ridgid's SubCompact brushless driver, and the reason why I bought this was to take the lugs off my truck and car so I could swap out my tires. So in this video we're going to dive into the features and the specs on this impact, and also what you could do with this impact if you owned it and why you should buy it. So stay tuned to find out more.
Hello, if you're new to this channel, my name is Dan Shannon. I enjoy woodworking as a hobby and being out in the shop. On this channel, dive deep into my shop as we explore tools and tool reviews, as well as chatting about everything related to woodworking. If this grabs you by the tool belt, please subscribe to my channel if you want more videos like this.
Hello and welcome to Shop Talk with Dan the Man. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, thanks for coming back. So this is Ridgid's SubCompact Impact, and this is model number R872081, and this is their 1/2 inch socket. So what that means is on the front, anything you have for sockets have to be 1/2 inch, and they have one that is a bit smaller. So depending on what you have for sockets, you can buy the 1/2 inch. So let's go over the features now, and then we'll dive into the hands-on, so what I can use this for and you can use this for, and then we'll jump into some final thoughts. So features. Okay, let's go over the features of this SubCompact impact. You can see on the back it says SubCompact and brushless. You can also see on the back it has the 1, 2, 3 display, and this is LED. So you can see here it's 1's lit up, then 2, then 3, and then auto. So depending on what you're using, you can do the 1, 2, 3 or auto. And as you go to, we'll do the side, you can see here you have your 1/2 inch for your adapter. So depending on what you're using for sockets, you can use either adapter, so it goes from 1/2 inch to 3/4, or so depending on what you're using for a socket set, you can go between the 1/2 inch and the 3/4, or you can grade that depending on what you have for a fitting. It says Ridgid here. You have your reverse and forward, so you just slide that over, reverse and forward. That's kind of standard with the Ridgid tools. And then if you put it in the middle, it's a lockout. So if you try to press the trigger, it will not engage. On the top, there's not really much to look at. It does have 3 LED lights, so when you're doing a job, it'll shine as soon as you pull the trigger, which is a great feature on this tool. Lots of ventilation on the back. You can see here on all sides, there's a little fan in there. If I turn it on slow, you can see that that's moving. It actually has a lot of torque for this particular tool. It says brushless on the bottom there, and then on the front you have your indicator for your battery but there is no indicator or LED light here. Sometimes Ridgid will put an LED light here on their drill, but instead, of course, they put it up to the head, which I think is better in a way because it's right where your socket will be. The front, you have a nice grip for the handle, and there's your slider, of course, for front reverse, like I mentioned. There used to be on their drills a spot for a bit here, but since this is an impact, you're not going to put a socket on the back, so it makes sense not to have anything there. You do have a right or left belt clip, so on this side I'm putting it on the left hand side because I use that a lot for my right hand belt, so I'll actually put this on my right side. So it makes sense for Ridgid to have either side depending on your preference and where you would actually want to have it on your body. All right, so that is it for the features for this impact. It's pretty straightforward, pretty light in your hand. I really like it. Small profile, like I said, being a subcompact and all. Their full size is quite a bit larger, but it also delivers more power. And there is the model number on there, so you can see that as well. And like all Ridgid tools, they take the 18 volt battery. This is a max output, 4 amp hour and lithium. So you can get even their older batteries as well as their new batteries that just came out. They all work with their tools, interchangeable. And that's another thing I like about Ridgid, is no matter how old your tools are and your batteries, they'll all work with that format. All right, let's jump into the hands-on now that we went over the specs. Okay, here's my truck, and I'm just going to show you how easy it is for this impact to pull the lugs off my tire. Okay, so I'm here at the truck. If you're wondering what I'm using for socket set, these are Milwaukee's. This is 7/8 socket, 1/2 inch, and I'm gonna put it on auto and then reverse. So this is not a how-to video on how to change tires or anything. I'm literally gonna loosen 2 lugs and then tighten them back up again with this, just to show you how easy it can come off. You can see by all the grease on the gun, I've already done this. So slide that on, make sure it's in reverse. That's how easy it just came off, just like that. Same with this one. Let's do the bottom one. Came off, no problem. Auto tight. So whenever you take a bolt off, like I said, this is not a how-to video, but always make sure you put it on with your fingers first. Line it up so you don't wreck the threads. So bring it in as far as you can, finger tight wise, and then of course use the torque gun. You don't want to over torque your lugs at all. So your best bet is to do the auto setting on here, snug them up, and then use a strong arm to get the proper spec. And here's your proper spec. So you look in the user's manual for your truck or your car and use this to make sure it's tightened to spec. So let's just tighten these up. That's nice and tight. So you notice with the auto, it just stopped. So as soon as it got snug, it just stopped it, which is exactly what you want. And then of course, it's up to you, but I use the strong arm. Some people know from pressure how much to do on a braking bar, but I like to use this so I can get the exact spec I need. All right, so that's it for lugs. I did this for all my tires, jacked it up, swapped the tires out, and then of course reinstalled them. So perfect, that's why I bought this. It has perfect power for doing my truck lugs and my car. All right, let's jump into the next hands-on. All right, so hands-on, we're gonna take this 6-inch leg bolt and drive it into this 4x4. Just wanted to show you the power this thing has, and installing whether it's leg bolts or even longer bolts, it'll install them very fast and very easy. So I have a Milwaukee socket. This is a 1/2 inch, 9/16 is the size, because that's the size of the head I'll be using for this. So put on my hearing protection, and then we'll sink this into the board, and I'll just show you how fast that goes. So I'm going to put it on, we'll do 1 first, and then 2, and then 3, and then of course the auto. So here's 1. So 1 is very slow. As you can see there, it was barely putting the bolt in, and that has to do with how much torque is applied to each setting. So there's 1. I'm not going to do the whole thing, we'd be here all day. So there's 1, and then I'll put it to setting 2 on the impact, and then I'll do that and show you that speed. Okay, so that's 2. You could see it really picked up speed there for bringing the bolt through. And then we'll go to 3. So here's setting 3. So this is the max this subcompact can do for power. So let's, you can see this now. Okay, so that was 3. You can definitely see a speed difference between 1, 2, and 3 as far as the bolt actually going into the wood. And this is a very hard old piece of 4x4, so it's the hardest I could find for this challenge, just to give you a great idea of this capability. And then we'll go to auto. So auto should actually keep it going. If it doesn't, that means it's tripped the clutch in here and it can't go any further. Then I'll have to bring it back down to 3. But it should actually go until it buries it, and then once it finally gets it to it won't go anymore, it'll trip the clutch and then it should stop. So let's try the auto. Okay, so the auto, since this is a very hard 4x4, you noticed it stopped instantly. It tripped the clutch in here, which is a great safety, because a lot of times you're working on smaller engines, say like a lawnmower, and you go to tighten a bolt. Chances are you wouldn't use this. You would use something smaller. Ridgid has these basically mechanical ratchets that are great for smaller engines. So you probably wouldn't use this, but if you did, it's a great safety. It cuts out, so as you can see, it just stops because the wood is so hard. It thinks that it's done sinking it. So we'll go back to 3, and then we'll bury this, and I'll show you how good it works. So that buried that, no problem. It's very loud, which most compacts are. If you've ever been into a shop where they're working on vehicles, any air drivers, anything like that is very loud. So no different than this. Always wear hearing protection just to make sure your ears are going to be okay later on. All right, so I buried that. As you can see, that was very hard wood. The auto tightening didn't even really sink it. It might have moved it a little bit before it said that it was done. So we'll back this out, and yeah, that'll basically conclude hands-on for a leg bolt. If you're going to do this, this is the most extreme version I could find for testing this, and of course we did the lugs on the truck. So let's just back this out. All right, I backed that out super fast. It's actually really hot because it backed it out so quick. But you can see there, that's a 6-inch leg bolt, and it buried that just fine in this hard piece 4x4. All right, so that's pretty much it for the hands-on. I can't really think of anything else to try it with. This is, like I said, the biggest leg bolt I had, and with the truck tires. All right, let's go into some final thoughts. Would you buy this? What should you buy it for? So the final thoughts on this subcompact impact is there's lots of impacts on the market. There's bigger ones than this that have more torque. There's actually smaller versions you can buy from different brands. And why would you go with this one in the end? Well, you've seen the hands-on, you've seen the capabilities. It took the truck lugs off just fine. So what I needed it for was the truck lugs. And also I used it for my, recently actually, for my kids' playhouse. I had huge bolts that I had to, leg bolts that I had to sink in. And you've seen that in the hands-on as well. It sunk that no problem. So general purpose, great tool. I love the fact that it has the 3 modes on the back and then the auto mode. I use the auto mode quite a bit, and I find that super handy. So say you're using it on a project that, say a lawnmower for example, and you had to tighten up the blade underneath, you can just put your socket on and then put it on the auto and then snug it up, and once it's snug, then you can use a manual wrench if you wanted to do it by hand, or you can go through 1, 2, or 3 depending on how tight you wanted that. So I love this. Very lightweight, very small. Ridgid does have a bigger size, a full compact. Well, it's not called a compact. They got a full size, and this is the subcompact. So it all boils down to your needs. So what are you going to use this for on a regular basis, and does it apply enough torque for you to do the job at hand? And like I said, for me in my shop, this is a perfect tool with the perfect amount of torque for my jobs at hand. And there's no bad tool out there. It's really depends on what you're using it for and your shop needs. So yeah, thanks for watching today's video. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be part of the Shop Talk family, please click on that link below, the subscribe button. I'd love to have you on board to talk about tool reviews and shop in general. And please give me a thumbs up if you like this video. This would help get this video out to more people. So thanks for watching again, and have yourself a great day.